tonight we're going to cover chapter 4 of the book of Daniel. It kind of starts speeding up a little bit more, but at the same time, whether, I don't know, we're all different, our personalities different, our concept, how we receive things is different, and we want to be able to be sure and plant seeds. We want to plant seeds in your heart, in your head, where you can do some research your own self. And so we want to welcome all of those that's tuning us in and watching us up in Oklahoma City. We've got friends up in that area. We have friends out in Fresno, California. And we have friends down in Florida. We have friends in Kentucky. These are ones that we know that has been tuning in, has been watching us. So we welcome you. But tonight we're going to be a little bit all over the scriptures. We're going to talk out of the First Covenant, the Renewed Covenant, in what's known in America, or the Western world, the Old Testament and the New Testament. So I want to read a little bit tonight, and again, our address is Eagle Mountain Ministry, P.O. Box 336, Bixby, Oklahoma, 74008. If you would like a copy of our notes, please let us know, and we'll see to it you can get a copy of some of the notes that we have. But I'm going to read, and then we're going to read some scriptures. We're all going to read some scriptures, but as I said, we're going to be all over the scriptures tonight. Prophecy is designed for one thing only, not to scare us. Now, I got that in there because I've had people say, I don't really get into prophecy. Have you guys ever heard anybody say, I don't want to read Revelation because it's too confusing and I just don't understand it. I just have trouble with it. Of all of the books in the Bible, can you think of one book in the Bible that promises a blessing if you read it? Anybody have any idea? It's Revelation. It says it. It says you'll receive a blessing. You'll get a blessing by reading and studying the book of Revelation. And so the second part is, but to prepare us, not to scare us, but prophecy has been given by God to prepare us. Okay, from this chapter forward, we'll be looking into the New Testament, or the Renewed Covenant is the actual original writing out of the Aramaic and the Greek. As we journey on into prophecy, folks, this may come as a surprise to some of you out there as you're listening, and those that know me, you've heard me say this before, so I'm just going to repeat myself. But the Bible is a Jewish book. It is a Jewish book. Yes, it's true that Constantine, along with others, managed to take the Jewishness out of the Bible. Now, you guys, I don't want to read so fast. You understand what I'm saying when I say that? The Jewishness has been removed. The majority of all of it has been taken. Jesus was a Jew. It was penned by Jewish men. God breathed, inspired. Timothy, Paul says something. It's God's breathed, but it was penned by Jewish men. And if it was penned by Jewish men, they came over to L.A. and they recorded it in L.A., right? No, of course not. How about New York? No, they didn't do it in New York. They didn't do it in England. They did it in Israel. That's a silly question. No, a lot of people don't know that. They don't think about that. It was penned in the Middle East. And if it was penned in the Middle East by Jewish men, then it's going to have Jewish symbols. It's going to have Jewish idioms. It's going to have Jewish patterns, if you will. And I say that statement, I'll find it here. Let me go on and read it real quick. Managed to take the Jewishness of the Bible out. I personally believe in order to fully, now listen to this, I personally believe in order to fully understand what Elohim, or God, is saying, that we need to understand the Middle Eastern ways, such as their symbols, their idioms, and their patterns, especially God's pattern along with their meanings of the patterns. Understand something. God has not, nor will he ever forsake the chosen people who are the Jews. We're not going to look this scripture up. That's just for your reference. Those of you that are up in one of the cities here in Oklahoma or wherever you might be in California, Jeremiah 33, verse 23 through 26. Read that and study that. You might be asking, how long did God promise his covenant to the Jews? I'm going to stop right there. The reason I put that in there in my notes, I've had two people, Vicky, down at our clinic. Well, how long did he promise the people, the Jewish people, that he promised to take it? They keep backsliding, they keep doing this, they keep blah, blah, blah. Surely there's a set time. Not really. He's made an unconditional covenant promise to his chosen people. I want someone to read to me Psalms 105. Psalms 105, verse 8 through 11.
Okay. He has remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, the covenant which he made with Abraham, and his oath to Isaac. Then he confirmed it to Jacob for a statute, to Israel as an everlasting covenant, saying, to you I will give the land of Canaan as the portion of your inheritance.
So who are we talking about here? Anybody, just talk back to me. Who's God talking about here?
Jews.
The Jews. The Israeli people, the Jews, the Hebrew children, put it that way. And how long? You read the word. She said the word. How long did he promise the covenant to last?
Everlasting covenant.
It's an everlasting. Someone tell me what's everlasting mean?
Eternal.
Never ending?
Never ending. That's very simple. It's a no-brainer. He has not, God doesn't change. The Bible says he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Thank God for that. I mean, that's incredible. I think you think about that. We're living in a day and age, oh, well, that was just last week. I didn't really mean it the way it sounded like. We change with the wind. It's just amazing. But God is a God that he never changes. Now I want you to take your Bibles and let's go into Matthew 24. And I want to read myself. I want you to listen while I read to you some scriptures from Matthew 24. Matthew 24, let's see, what did I say? Matthew 24, verse 32. Tell me when you guys are there. Matthew 24, verse 32. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and read, all right? Now, learn a parable of the fig tree. When its branches is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. Now likewise, when you shall see all of these things, know that it, and you really, if you look at the Hebrew word there, the word could be translated he. Know that he is near. And the King James says it. So, I think the actual Greek will give you the word he as well. I don't know what your Peshitta says. What's your Peshitta say?
It says it.
Okay. Is near, even to the door. Now listen, do you know what the word verily, what it gives you the idea? And I don't mind saying, when I had my Greek class many years ago with Rick Renner, I really loved the way he elaborated on the word verily. Does anybody know what the word verily is? Greek and Hebrew is a fantastic, I wish I knew it, and I don't know. I used to know a little Greek, still about that, probably not. But, did you want to say something?
Sometimes it says truly, truly.
What's that?
Sometimes it says truly, truly.
Yes, it will. You'll see some of the translations, it will say truly, truly. In this King James, now maybe your Peshitta says something else, I don't know, another translation?
I want to say for my Latin class, but that was like almost 20 years ago. I think it means like in all truth or something like that, like in the fullness of it. But I could be mistaken.
No, you're right, and she's right. Now let me tell you, Greek paints a fabulous painting. I mean, it is an illustrated language. And Hebrew is even, in my opinion, more beautiful yet. In the Hebrew, it gives you the idea that the Lord is saying, heads up, listen to me, listen, pay attention, hello, truly, truly, that's what you're saying. And what you're saying, it's the same meaning, it's exactly the same thing. And even, I looked it up many years ago, even in the Aramaic, it gives you the idea that it's saying, hey, don't be chasing your mind. Focus, focus, focus. I'm trying to tell you something that's really going to help you out. And when you see two verily, verilies, it's what you're saying. Listen, truly, truly, I say unto you. Remember how he said that? And I love that. I do, because it shows the
Urgency of
urgency. It shows the
emphasis.
importance. It shows the intensity of it.
Yeah.
The intensity of it. Listen, Linda. No, the commercial. I'm listening to commercials.
It goes back to when David was writing the songs. And he wrote the word Selah!
Yeah, it gives that.
I'm sorry.
No, she's right though. She is right. Because what's the well, now? Yeah, Selah. Like she's saying, what does Selah mean?
Pause.
What?
Pause
Pause.
and really reflect on this.
Okay. Think on these things. The Hebrew literally means to think deeply. So what she's saying, Selah. Psalms is a musical psalmist. I mean, David was a psalmist, and it's sung. Many songs in the book of Psalms is sung. They're poems, and it's music. And so that's it. Selah, Selah, think on these things. That's what he's saying very strongly. And so verily, verily. And so he uses one verily here, but many places as it's penned in the Lord Yeshua says, verily, verily, pay attention, heads up. And so he says right here, he says, verily I say unto you, this generation, and in the Greek, that means Jania. The Greek word is Jania. Well, that and $2 to get you a cup of coffee today. But what it means, the race. The race that sees all of these things simultaneously transpiring, taking place. This is what that shall not pass. Till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass. That's logos. My words shall not pass away. Now, real fast, real quick, it bears repeating. I want you to get this, because in my notes I asked the question, why is Jesus comparing a fig tree to the Jews? Can anybody give me a point on that? Before you do that, let me go back and because he says the scriptures never comes back void. And I just want to read it to us again. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. A fig tree, yes. If you're taking notes, write this down. Don't turn to it or whatever. It's in your notes here that you already got. But Hosea 9:10, Joel 1:7, and it's also recorded in Jeremiah. And I can't believe I didn't write the chapter and the verse down. But you can go back later and look that up. Now learn a parable of the fig tree when its branches is yet tender and puts forth its leaves. You know that summer is near. Somebody elaborate on that for me. What's he really saying right there? He explains it pretty plain. What's he really saying there? Pam, you're thinking,
It's about to happen.
something's about to happen. There you go. But what's about to happen? What's he saying? What's he not saying that he's saying? Can I say it that way? What's he not saying that he's saying? And he uses the fig tree. He's talking about the Jews again. He's talking about Israel. He's talking about Jerusalem. He's talking about the tribes of Israel, the Jewish people. Because he compares them. Now, why do I say, well, I'll just tell you, it's in my notes there. It's called the School of First Mention. Where do you find some of the writings first mentioned? The school of, one of the very first things they taught at Biola, which I didn't, this is one I didn't throw out. It wasn't a Hellenistic teaching, it was a good teaching. The School of First Mention literally means, when was that first mentioned? Then you trace it back as far as you can trace it back. And then there's where they compared them, okay? And so, the fig tree, Israel's compared to the vine, where the branches and the vine, all of that, etc. And so, he's saying, the subject is, when can you tell us when you're going to return? number one. And what are the signs, however you want to chronology put them in order here. He says, now learn a parable of the fig tree. He says, you're asking a question. Yeah, I can tell you. I can tell you. But let me tell you, let me give you a big hint. Let me give you a big hint. Now learn the parable of the fig trees. The fig tree, I want to drive it in us, and those who are watching, I want to drive this into you over and over. The fig tree is compared to the Jewish people. When the leaves are getting ripe and they're are budding out, know that what? Summer is near. Summer is getting pretty. Same thing here. Every year we watch little leaves starting to just bud out and bud out. And her and I always say, man, I just love spring. Look at these leaves. I love the temperature of spring. I love the weather. I love the atmosphere and everything. And I love fall. But in the summer, I know summer is, he says it, summer is near. Verily I say, okay, listen up. After he kind of heads it up, he says, now listen up. I say this unto you. The generation that sees this, sees what? About something about the Jews, right? That's what he's saying right here. Sees what? It's something that's going to happen about the Jews. Well, you know what we're going to do from that one? Let me just, I gave a little note here about, listen what I read. We're reading that, we've done that. Of course, the Jews. Israel is about this, I'm just giving you a little geography lesson here. Israel is about the size of New Jersey. At its widest point, did you guys know this? It's only a little bit over 74 miles wide. Isn't that amazing? And it's the talk of the town around the planet. 74 miles wide, it's 240 miles plus, a little bit longer, maybe give or take, long. If you're wondering why he compares the fig tree to the Jews, Hosea 9:10 and Joel 1:7, and you will also find it again in Jeremiah. One of the very first things we should be watching is Jerusalem and Israel, of course. One thing I need to reiterate strongly here is talking to the Jews and not about the church. He's talking now let me, you guys listen to me for about a minute here. I've had so many people say this, man, the rapture must be verse 36 on down. You ever heard that? Some people's heard that. I've heard it around. This has nothing to do with the body of Christ church. The Holy Spirit hasn't even been lived. Pentecost has not come at all yet. Okay? Because he's not went to Calvary. So what I'm saying is, I can't emphasize it enough. We said how Constantine managed, along with others, to take the Jewishness out of the Bible. And what we're saying here is I'm trying to put it back in, and by saying he's talking to Jews. But the whole Bible's God-breathed, so it's for us too. Yes, it is for us. That's why God is God, and it's a twofold meaning. He is talking to the Jews, he's talking in symbols, but they're all Middle Eastern patterns, symbols, and idioms. I know I'm reiterating that a little bit stronger than I normally do, but I want to get that across to us. He's talking to the Jewish people. It is not talking about the rapture. He's talking about the second advent. When Yeshua comes back the second time. Now, do your own homework in your own head. If this is the case, he's saying, keep your eyes on the house of Israel. Keep your eyes on the house of Israel. What are we going to keep the eyes on the Jews for? What about it? Now is why I want to go back to the Old Testament. And I want you to go in. Let's see, where I want you to go. I just look at Ezekiel. I want you to go to Ezekiel, I think. Yeah, Ezekiel. Go to Ezekiel. Let's go to 37. And I want you to listen while I read here for a little bit. And you'll notice, and after I read it, I printed in here, could it be any plainer than this? And what I mean is what I'm getting ready to read to you. Let me just ponder, if you guys would please just Stay focused. Do your best, because to me this is very important. Stay focused what I'm going to read to you about. Out of Ezekiel chapter 37. The hand of the Lord was upon me, and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord, and set me down in the midst of the valley which was called of bones, and caused me to pass by them and around about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Don't you find it kind of interesting, the detail that is being said right here? They're very dry. Why did you say that? Because it's a pattern. It's a pattern. It's a symbolic meaning right here. And caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley. And he says open valley. And they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? This is God talking to Ezekiel. Can these dry bones live? I find that really, I don't know, maybe it doesn't do anything to you guys, but I'm going, God's got a sense of humor, buddy. And I answered and says, I think this is the humor part right here, from Ezekiel. Thou knowest, that's about what I would say. You're telling the story, you're God, not me, thou knowest. I love that part right there, I really do. Again, he said unto me, then I want you to prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God unto these bones, behold. Can you, anybody want to take a shot at behold? You got another word there besides behold?
See.
See? That's kind of shallow. George says that in there? He's saying
No, he says behold.
Oh, you're saying that see. Okay. Give me another word.
Look.
Witness. Behold.
What?
Take it all in.
You're pretty good. She's good.
But that's not what it says. That's
No,
just
no,
what it
no.
says.
That's how you're interpreting it, though. That's good. I mean, I could be like Jesus did Peter. Flesh and blood is not revealed unto you. Because in the Hebrew, in the Aramaic both, it gives you the idea where he says, behold, you take a look like you're saying, and you said, John says, see. All of that's correct. But again, if you do a word study on the word just in a context again, reading it in context is saying, I like what she said about Selah a while ago. She lost her pen doing it, but it was true. Behold! You know, let that sink in. See! Take it in! Look at this! Do you see look at all of these bones atop them, and they're all parched, they're dry. They're all dry bones. If I was back preaching, I'd have me an illustrated sermon on that. I'd have me some little skeletons sitting all on the stage. I love doing illustrated sermons. He says, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. And that means in the Hebrew again, it means physically, physical life. And I will lay, what's the word? Muscles. Sinews, however you want to pronounce it. It literally means in Hebrew, it means muscles and strength. That's what that word means. You may have that in yours, John.
No, it says
Really?
sinews.
Mine says ligaments.
It says what?
Ligaments.
Yeah, well, it's muscles and strength, yeah.
Muscles, tissue.
Yeah, absolutely. Upon you. And will bring up flesh upon you and cover you with skin. Now let me stop right here before I go any further. Stay with me. What we're reading here, God is trying to tell Ezekiel, that's my whole house there, Bubba. Those are my kids down there. They've dried up. They've dried up. They've turned their backs on me. And as a result of turning their backs on me, they've all withered away. They're just dry old bones. But what did you say a while ago? How long was the covenant?
Everlasting.
Everlasting covenant. And what the everlasting is coming out right here. It's starting to come out. Now, today, over in Israel, they're anything but a holy nation. They're anything but the holy city. It's called holy because God resides there. He's put his Hebrew name on the mountains, and it's there. But physically, it's anything but holy over in Israel. But I love Israel. I do love Israel. My heart is for Israel.
The people,
And
the
yeah.
people are far from God.
Yeah, that's a better way, thank you, sorry. The people are very far from God. They have no personal, yes, that's just enough. They're far away from God. Okay, and put breath into them, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied, and as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bones to its bone. Now, folks, I'm telling you something. I'd love to see a movie put together on this. Can you imagine with the technology that we have today? Can you imagine they could make that happen in Hollywood today? I think if somebody would ever get a hold of this and put this thing together, it'd be so cool seeing these bones all kind of coming back together. And when I beheld, lo, the muscles and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered over them above, but there was no breath in them. Now, why do you think he put that in there? Take a guess. So you got, now listen to this.
They weren't living yet.
They were not living yet. They were not living. Here's all of these bodies, God knows how many, thousands probably, in this valley. And now it's not just old dry bones laying down, it's just dead bodies laying around, right? Can you envision that? Put it in your mind. Try to be creative in your thought pattern. Try to be creative in your thought pattern. So, Pam said it. There was not life in them yet. For the breath of life had not been put in them as of yet. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind. I love that part. Prophesy unto the wind. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord Elohim, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these that have been slain, that they may what? They may live. So I did. So I prophesied as he commanded me. I just love this writing. And the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upright on their feet, an exceedingly great army. What about that? Now let's think about that for a minute. Fig tree. When you see the budding of the fig trees, God is prophesying something in the future, that life is getting ready to come upon his household once again. Now, I want to read this to you. If you get your notes, if you're writing these down up there in California, in Fresno, wherever you might be picking this up on here, look back, just flip back to Ezekiel 36, and I think I may skip around here a little bit. Ezekiel 36, and I'm going to skip, it's not in your notes here, but I'm going to read verse 24, then I'm going to go backwards again a little bit more. Listen to verse 24. For I will take you from among the nations. Take you. Who's the you in referencing to? Who's he in referencing to?
The Jews.
The Jews. He's talking about his chosen people. I will take you from among the nations, because remember, they were scattered, were they not? And gather you out from all countries. They were scattered over the whole planet. And will bring you again unto your own land. Now, here's a big, rich nugget. Don't forget this. When I, Selah, 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 and verily, verily. Now, let's see. How can I say it? You guys, I was born in 1947. I had to look at Brenda. May 14th, 1948. This prophecy was fulfilled. First time in over 25 plus 100 years. Can you comprehend 25 plus 100 years? I can't. I really can't. Just being honest with you. I have trouble going back to Abraham Lincoln. I have trouble thinking this here, King James, was penned in 1611. I have trouble even going back that far. This prophecy was fulfilled May 14th in 19... Let me tell you what I tried to find, John. I have a recording on an old cassette recorder of the actual writing of when Isaac and them, because he was in it, when they went in... no, that's 67. I'm sorry. Sorry, that was 1967. I don't have that. I don't have nothing about the 48. I have got a newspaper of it though. I've said it all out, but I didn't bring my newspaper or nothing. I was going to show you guys. Just think for a minute. He gathered it. Can a nation be fulfilled in one day? That's what the Bible says. It's in your reference there. It happened. It's been in the making behind the curtains for a little while. But for the world to know, May 14th, 1948, this prophecy was fulfilled. It's that Genea, that tribe of people, their families. So if I can keep my act together, maybe I still might live to see the return of the Lord. Think about it for a little bit. That's sobering. That's very sobering. What's today's date? 13th? 13th. November the 13th. 2020. I mean 2020, in other words. 2020. We're about to see 2021, 21st century. That's hard for me to... It's amazing. It's amazing. We're here. We're in the very last of the days. And I forgot, I wanted to bring my Nebuchadnezzar. I have an image of Nebuchadnezzar that Bob gave me for my birthday, wasn't it, or something? A gift or something, but he gave it. And I like illustrated messages, like I said, in sermons and showing things, because a painting's worth 1,000 words. And I wanted to show, where are we in the image of King Nebuchadnezzar? We're in the toes. We're in the toenails. The whole, because that depicts all of the world empires. All of the world, starting with Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, the Babylonian Empire, all the way down to Rome, then into the fragments, the clay mixing with the iron, all down in the feet and the ankles and the toes, and then it doesn't stay together. Jesus said in Matthew 21, again, perplexity. What's perplexity? Can somebody give me an idea of perplexity? Simple, confused minds. Just confused. Are we in that generation? Buddy, we are confused. I know good people. Oh, I voted for so-and-so. And this one over here says, how could you vote for that? You want that to happen? You want this to come into our name? Then over here, so I'm voting. I mean, well, I don't know. That's what they say on CNN. What are you watching CNN for? Now, that's what they, and the list goes on and on, doesn't it? This is our standard. This is our standard. This is what you better vote by. Your conviction, if you're a believer, if you've given your heart to Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, you've invited him in, you believe he's the Son of God. Jesus told Nicodemus in John chapter 3, that's what allows you to be born again. The spirit man gets reborn. You may be a member of a church, you may not be a member of a man-made church, but you are born again. And you need to be water baptized. Not for salvation at all. I better clarify that, who hears all that. Because the Lord says, by baptism of water, let the people know what happened to you. Baptizing will do nothing but get you wet. But it's a follow-up work of your, can I say it that way? Follow-up work of your salvation. So that's what he's saying right here. Now, somebody read to me, if you will, for me, because I gotta keep going now. Let's see, let's go in Isaiah 66, read 7 and 8. Can, you wanna try to read that, Vicky?
Okay.
Isaiah 66, verse 7 and 8. Lenora, can you read Isaiah chapter 7? Chapter 7, start with verse 14, but let's her read that first.
Isaiah 66:7. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Who hath heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day?
Did you hear that? One day?
Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children.
Now, is that it? Yeah, okay. Before you read that, I want to quiz us for a second. You want to read it from the Peshitta, John? Did you turn to her while she was going to it?
Yeah,
Why don't you
starting in
read,
verse 6.
7.
Before she travailed, she gave birth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a male child. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born in an hour? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children.
Okay. What two things are we talking about here? Again, once again,
The Jewish people.
And the Messiah.
and the Messiah. We're talking about Yeshua. What's the, how do I say this? Give me what does Yeshua mean? What does Yeshua mean?
Son of God.
Messiah.
Anointed.
Messiah, I think it doesn't mean anointed one too, I think. But it's in the
Hamashiach.
context, huh? What?
Hamashiach.
That's the anointed.
The Messiah, the anointed one.
Yes, the word Yeshua means salvation, to be
Yeah,
real
that's-
plain.
that's true.
It means salvation. And in the context that it's read, you'll see the word in the Hebrew in the first covenant. You'll see, you must come to Yeshua. And that's not, in the context, it doesn't mean, how am I saying? It doesn't mean Jesus. It means you must come to salvation. And see, then when it's talking about an individual, I don't have the big, nice, better words to say, I'm just being honest with myself. But then there are times that it's talking about Yeshua, the man Yeshua. Again, it's in the context, am I saying it right, how it's supposed to be read? So, these guys said it right. It's talking about Messiah. There is a man that's coming. But then he says, can a nation be born in one day? Yes, it can, and it did. But what came first? What came first? What he just read?
Well, in this passage, it says, before going into labor, she gave birth. Which I think is a very clear way of putting it.
It is or isn't? It is clear, he said?
I think so.
Yeah.
So even before, it was just immediate. And
Well,
before
that's
her
that's
pains
right.
came,
You're right.
she delivered a male child. Yeah,
See, boom.
right.
And I think because John, I said we weren't going to get into Revelation, but in Revelation it also talks about how the devil come to try to rob the baby. That's what, when you read John's writing in Revelation, that's what he's referring to right there. Now, secondly, John, wasn't it John that you said the statement, or one of you guys, I think John, you read it, can a nation be born in one day?
Yes.
So what, isn't that talking about real, literal nation? Because what did I just read out of Psalm Ezekiel 37? I'll take my people from the four corners of the wind and I'll bring them back. But what's so amazing, I will bring them back in their own what? I'll bring them back in their own what? It's not a loaded question, huh?
Bodies,
No, I'll
form?
bring them back in their own homeland.
Okay.
Yeah, their own nation.
They're back, because he says, I bring all of them. That's what he's been doing. See, it's like, okay, the words, well, I'm gonna chase my rabbit here, Bob, but the word salvation today, not Yeshua, but the word, wait a minute, no, you scratch that, saved. How many of you people are saved? We'd all raise our hand, wouldn't we? We'd all raise our hand. And what would you say if I told you, no, you're not really saved, you're in the process of being saved? Does that make sense? You're born again. And so I'm splitting hairs is what I'm doing. So that I'm trying to compare that, maybe I'm trying to give us a comparison about what happened. Jesus was born in a day, came forth of a virgin. Okay? Israel was birthed, seems like overnight, in a day. Okay? But it was in a process. It was in a process of, because later on, because we could go for 2 hours in reading Ezekiel and Isaiah here, he says, I will give them a new heart. Remember that? I'll give them a new heart. Have they received their new heart yet? No. No. Because Jesus in the Gospels, he says, for a short time, tell me what I'm doing.
Blinders.
I put blinders. I put scales over their eyes. What? You put scales over the Jews' eyes? The time clock has started back up on the Jews. The Gentiles have been in control of Israel since the Babylonian days. And he says when the time of the Gentiles is up, the time clock, now I'm paraphrasing that, the time clock starts back up on the Jews. In other words, the scales are slowly beginning to come open and they're beginning to go, oh my gosh, he is our Messiah. He is the King. He is truly Yeshua. But you can't get an Orthodox Jew to say that Jesus is Yeshua. Because they know obviously, they know the word Yeshua, salvation. He's not my salvation. No. He's not my salvation. Oh, yes, he is if you receive him. And so what's happening today? Today there are more Jewish people, not only just in Israel, around the world. And there are more people, more Arabs, and more Israeli people today receiving this Jewish Messiah as their Messiah than ever before. Ever before. Why? Why is that happening now? Because the time of the Gentiles is over with. The time of the Gentiles is over with. Want to take a poke at that for a minute? See if we can tie it together. When do you think the time of the Gentiles was over with? What's that mean? What does that really mean? Look, you can read about it in Luke 21 as well as 24.
When Israel became a nation?
What? Say it again?
When Israel became a nation,
I think she's right.
possibly.
I think you're right. When Israel became a nation, I don't profess to know it all. We're all learning together. When Israel became a nation, that was the first time since the Babylonian days, really, that Israel was in total control of the whole house of Israel, the whole nation. And then it was capitalized in 67, and then your President Trump put the cherry on the cake when he declared worldwide, and I said this in our last teaching, when he declared worldwide that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. And every president's promised that all the way back to Reagan, even probably further back than that, didn't it? Probably. And they've all said the same statement's been recorded. Well, it's liable to cause World War III. I don't know, maybe we better back off a little bit. That's what they said when they said Trump was gonna do it, remember that? Oh, he's gonna call, oh my goodness, oh my lands, we're gonna have World War III for sure. It's all calmed down now, they aren't talking about that, they're talking about the coronavirus. Read it, Lenore, thank you for keeping me.
Therefore, Adonai himself will give you people a sign. The young woman will become pregnant, bear a son, and name him Emmanuel. God is with us. By the time he knew enough to refuse evil and choose good, he will have to eat curdled milk and wild honey. Yes, before the child knows enough to refuse evil and choose good, the land whose 2 kings you dread will be left abandoned.
I have it in my notes. Could it be any plainer? Really, I mean, could it be any plainer? How much plainer do we want it? That to me, now I don't know how, we all have different thinking patterns again, but to me, that really backs up that what Jesus said, blinders have in part covered up the Jewish people. Because how in the world could you misunderstand that? And then turn around, I haven't got it in my notes again, turn around and study, don't do it tonight, but maybe you have studied it, but tie this in, make your connection with Isaiah 53. Make your connection with Isaiah 53. I'm telling you folks, blinders are being removed and Jewish people around the world. Now see, let me just, if there's any of you out there tonight, you're listening to this teaching, you're going, this guy is absolutely nuts. Let me tell you something. Isaiah 53, well let me just, I feel like, okay, I need to do this real quick. Isaiah 53, it's all about Jesus, Yeshua. Isaiah 50, now understand this, I'm going to give you the bullet points of this thing. But here's what's happening. They have allowed a Jewish man by the name of Rashi. Rashi lived in the time of 1040 to 1105 AD, born in Troyes, France, and literally he was a Jewish scholar. He was famous for his intelligence and all this stuff. But he changed that. He literally says, oh no, that's not talking about an individual. Rashi said, that's talking about the nation of Israel.
Isaiah 53.
Yeah. Can you see? And because, now listen, because he was famous, he was a scholar, everybody looked up to him. Now John, you'll really get Rhema on this. They didn't question it. Well, that's what the news says.
Right.
They just believed it. Well, the news says, CNN says this, that. It must be true. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's talking about an individual. If you're Jewish and you're watching this tonight, please hear my heart. Please hear my heart. This is not talking about the nation of Israel, Isaiah 53. It's in your Jewish Bible. I have 2 Jewish Bibles, believe me. I've looked it up, I've done word studies on it. It is literally, in the Hebrew, it is talking about an individual by the way the little jots and the tittles and everything. I don't know Hebrew, I know enough to be dangerous probably, and that's about it. But I'm telling you, it's talking about an individual. It is describing Yeshua, the man. Isaiah 53. The Old Testament, the first covenant, gave warning after warning. There was a Messiah coming. Told you exactly to the T what was going to transpire. And the renewed covenant that American Western world people call the New Testament is fulfilling the first covenant. Why do we, I mean, we celebrate the feast. I don't know if any of you folks, but we enjoy celebrating the feast. We really do. We've taught it for years and years. It's a, can I say, it's an illustration. The feast, all of it is illustrating Messiah coming. I can get off on that, but I won't do it. Okay, well, now we got to go on to chapter 4. I really was hoping to set the stage on chapter 4 because from here on we're going to be doing a lot of cross-referencing as well. If you guys will probably doesn't beat me to it. Daniel chapter 4. Now I want you to pay close attention here. Nebuchadnezzar, the king unto all people, verse 1, and to all nations and languages that dwell in all the earth. What's he say? Somebody read that last little verse.
Peace be multiplied to you.
Peace be multiplied to you. Isn't that interesting? Because you know that's what's said in 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 2. Verse 2. Peace. And that word is shalom. Shalom. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, unto all the people, to all the nations, all the languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. Verse 2, I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God has brought unto me. Brought unto me. Now, just reading these two verses, wouldn't you take it that, man, he's finally found God, wouldn't you? Doesn't it sound like that? You think he's found God yet? Maybe he has, but he's ignorant of Torah.
He has short-term memory loss.
Thank you. Short-term memory loss. Verse 3, how great are his signs, and how mighty is his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his what? Dominion is from generation to generation. My gosh. Verse 3, talking about exploding wide open. This is Nebuchadnezzar telling this to all the nations. Now remember who he was. This is the George Bush, the Obama, the Trump, the Ronald Reagan of the world.
Caesar.
He's Caesar. Telling everybody all about God. And you're going, yeah, that's my man. You the man. Look at verse 4. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. What do you hear there? Prosperity, right? He's got her made, buddy. He knows God. He knows all of this stuff. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and thoughts upon my bed, and the vision of my head troubled me. Well, that would be normal. You guys have been troubled, haven't you? I'm going to be honest with myself, as with you guys. I'm not afraid, but I'm troubled about what I'm seeing happening in the world. I'm troubled with some of the Christians buying this bill of goods that's going around. That troubles me. Verse 6, therefore made I a decree to what now? To bring in all of the wise men? Excuse me? Bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of this dream. What? What are you talking about? Nebuchadnezzar, you just bragged on God and you said he's all omnipotent? He's from generation to generation? What are you bringing these clowns in for? Then came in the magicians, astrologers, the Chaldeans, the soothsayers. I told them the dream to them, but they didn't know what to say unto me, or the interpretation of it. But at the last, isn't that something there, that printing there? But at the last. Why did we wait to the very last to call out for God to help? Isn't that amazing? I mean, there's a good revelation there for us, folks. I'm just so concerned about my bills. I'm so worried about my car. I'm so worried about this. I'm so worried about that. Oh, yeah. Somebody said, have you thought to pray? Well, yeah, but no, this is in here for a reason. This is in here to speak to our. The Holy Spirit speaks to us. But at the last, I got it underlined. I don't know if you can see it. I got it underlined. George. Schaefer, at the last, you always, well, you get yourself worked up in a tizzy, then you end up calling on God. By the way, Father, came in before me, whose name is Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God. Excuse me? What do you mean, according to the name of your God? And in whom is the Spirit, small s, of the holy gods, G-O-D-S, a small g, and to him I told the dream. O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians. Master of the magicians, you kidding me? Because I know that the Spirit, small s again, of the holy G-O-D-S, small g, is in you. No, sorry there, Captain. The spirits are not in me. I'm sorry, yeah, drank a little bit too much, you're right, John.
Spirits.
Yeah. What kind of spirits are in you? And no secret troubleth you. Tell me the vision of my dreams that I have seen, and the interpretation of it. Thus for the vision of my head in my bed, I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height of it was great. The tree grew and was strong, and its height reached into heaven, and the sight of it to the end of all the earth. Its leaves were fair, its fruit much, and it was food for all. The beast of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heavens dwelt in the boughs, or extreme boughs, and all flesh was fed from it. I saw in the vision of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher. I'm going to go back and tell you what all this means in a minute. A watcher and a holy one came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said, Thus hew down the tree, and cut off its branches. Shake off its leaves, and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from its branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of its roots in the earth, and even with a band of iron and bronze, and in the tender grass of the field. And let him be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast and the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demands by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and give it to whomsoever he will, and sits upon over it, and basket men, most humble. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation back unto me, for as much as all the wise men of the kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but you are able to, but the spirit, small s again, but the Spirit of the holy S and small g is in you. Okay, that's a whole bunch of stuff he just said, didn't he? Starting in verse 4, back up to verse 4, he's living in prosperity. Things are cooking. God has blessed him immensely. Let's jump all the way down. You know, the trees, okay? The band of iron, days of old, the band of iron represents, you want to take a poke at it, anyone? You done any reading on it? Because you can look it up and read on it. The band of iron is placed around the tree so it won't split or rotten. In days of old, in Bible days, they would place a band of iron around the tree so when they hewed it down, the tree could go back. It wouldn't kill the tree. So he wants a band of iron placed around it, okay? I saw, behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height of it was great, and the tree grew and was strong. The word strong means empire. Talk about your empire. It's your empire, King Nebuchadnezzar. Its height reached into heaven. That was the biggest, powerful, well-known worldwide at its known time. And its end of the earth. Its leaves, that's prosperity, that's glamour, it's fair. It says, see the word fair? You can translate that, glamour. And its fruit, That's your prosperity there. Much and it's food. It was food. I'm sorry. It was food for all. That means he had jobs, plentiful. They were cooking, man. They were rocking and rolling. The beast of the field and the shadow under it, and the fowls of the heavens dwelt in its branches. Extreme peace. That symbolizes, that symbolic meaning, extreme peace. And all the flesh was fed from it. Prosperity, peace, happiness. Everything was cool. Everything was going on good. I saw in the vision of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watchman. A watchman is interpreted angels. Angel or angels, however you want to interpret it. A holy one came down from heaven and cried aloud and said, hew down the tree and cut off its branches, shake off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beast get away from under it, and the fowls over there. Nevertheless, leave the stump. Leave the stump. Now that's, he's describing Nebuchadnezzar, right? He's describing Nebuchadnezzar right here. Well, the whole thing it depends. It's talking about his kingdom. It's talking about the hew it down, but leave the stump. Leave the stump. Who's leaving the stump? What does that mean? Tell me that. What do you think that means?
The roots are still intact.
The roots are still intact. What does the root symbolically mean? It means him. The stump is him. Where was he scattered? Where was he? He went out to the wilderness. His fingernails grew. His hair grew. He kind of lost his mind. He went crazy. They prophesied that to him. Because of one word. We said that, was it the last time we talked about it? One word.
Pride.
Pride. Pride. Because of pride. What did we read the scripture for last week? Pride goeth before a fall. Fall. Pride goeth before fall. Every time.
And take it one more step. Fear of the Lord, Adonai, is the beginning of wisdom.
Wisdom. Yeah. Fear. Well, I won't get all into that, but
That's a different kind of fear.
it's a different word even, yes.
It's a different word.
Yeah.
It's a not, oh, I'm so afraid I'm
Yeah.
gonna fall off the edge of the earth. It's not that. It's, oh, I worship you and I adore you and I long to obey you.
One word of reverence. Right? Reverence. I reverend you. Like she said, I worship you. I reverend you. Elohim. Oh my goodness, is the beginning of what? When you get to that level, you swallow your pride. And what did we talk about that? You girls have a better handle on it than most men. They want to hold on to their pride. They want to, that'll nail you. Well, I just copied John when he says to me a lot.
Can I say something real quick?
Please.
Just wondering if you ever thought this before. So he called in the magicians, sojourners, all the trickery. You think he might have had an inkling of what the true vision was? And he was hoping that maybe these guys could tell him something different. That it was going to be bad, but maybe these guys.
Oh, you're thinking he, as in Nebuchadnezzar,
Yes, Nebuchadnezzar.
he knew what the interpretation was, maybe a little bit,
That it was going to be.
but he was
gonna be
hoping
good
these
for him.
other guys would give him another stray.
'Cause he knew he had strayed probably. And
But you're right, when you kind of whispered it out to me. Maybe you never thought about this. You're right. I've never thought about that. I've never thought about that. Have you, Pam? You, Brenda? And you guys ever thought about
Is
that?
that a nice way of saying no? Moving on.
Okay, thank you, Brother John. No,
I'll go get dessert ready.
no, yeah. All joking aside, that's a good thought. That's a really good thought. Because he was intelligent, but He had to be, he could have never been, you know, so many people, and don't cut this out, I want this said. So many people think Trump is stupid and he's arrogant, blah, blah, blah. He's a New Yorker, I'm sorry, he's a New Yorker. We voted in a leader, a businessman. We weren't voting for a pastor, and we weren't voting for Mr., help me with a word.
Politician.
Politician, we weren't, yeah, he definitely wasn't.
Mr. Popularity.
That's the word I was thinking,
Yeah.
thanks, John. We weren't voting in someone with a very popular, popularity.
The thing that's interesting about that, like what John was saying, was that dream really frightened him. And it's like, okay, it was a tree, animals are in it, and then it
Nature.
gets cut down.
Yeah,
Why is
way
that-
up.
But why is that so terrifying? Unless he had an idea that it had
John's got a good
The
point.
back end of the dream.
It could have, he could have.
John's
done it
got a
back
really
then.
good point there. I mean, that's really, it's just doggone good. I have never, in all of my days, I've never heard anybody say food for thought. I would say it that way. Food for thought. Could he have been thinking, ooh, man, what if that dream is about me? Oh my gosh. No, I don't want to think that. I don't want to think that. Get the soothsayers in. Get the magicians in. Come, you guys tell me something else. Okay, well, never mind. Go get Daniel. Get Bill Teziar. Get him in here. And then he ends up giving him the, it's you, Bubba.
Gave him the heave-ho.
Yeah, it's you. I'm gonna close it right there. I'm gonna end it in 18. Now, but listen to verse 18. We've done read it, I know, but I want to say, he says, this dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation to me, for as much as all the wise men, my kingdom, are not able to do it to me and bring the interpretation, but you're able. But the spirit, how do you like it? The way he says, but the spirits of the gods are in you. Yeah, you're right, John. John's going like this. Intellectually, and see if John's given us some food for thought. If he had got a little bit of interpretation of that of himself, he'd say, John, the spirits of the gods are in you. Go ahead and tell me what you think, And then as we finish chapter 4 out, I won't finish it tonight, it basically gives you the interpretation of it. And then we know the interpretations. Daniel's going to come back, he says, by the way, Bubba, it's you. It's your kingdom, it's you. And he nails it down, buddy. He nails it down. Now you think about that, and we'll close with this last statement. Somebody throw your 2 cents in a little bit. Cut this part out.
Don't tell him.
There's nothing like editing from the podium, right?
You won't be mad at me.
Do not tell him.
It takes a lot to offend me. A
Nay.
lot.
Nay. I did it. Started off. What are you laughing at me for?
Nay, nay.
Nay, nay. No, it ain't nay,
And
You've got a new nickname though.
nay. No. Not nay. It's not. You got me. You messed me up. No.
No.
You would think it's nay, because it's an A. It's just one of those weird,
No.
I guess,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
No.
No.
No, I'm thinking, huh? I did it? No.
Nah is right.
No.
that's right.
No, Laura. No.
No.
Lonnie. No. No, Lonnie.
Bingo.
Cut this out, please. Don't you dare. Please.
George, it's one of the Hawaiian.
Everybody on the videos is gonna know our name. Except for you.
It's one of the Hawaiian Islands.
Oh, it is?
So one thing we definitely need to do here is get a face to go with it.
Cute little face, too. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh dear.
So you were saying,
Oh, come on.
We're
what?
asking our question.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you were. I'm not sure exactly what the question question was.
Well, I don't either, I'm trying to focus.
Were you asking my 2 cents?
That's a good, that's a good time to
I
say,
don't have a 2
Yeah.
cents on this, but I do have a 2 cents on Ezekiel.
Okay,
So what stood out to me with that was God could have done that whole scene by himself. He could have just said, watch, pay attention to what I'm doing, and spoken to the bones himself. But he was working through Ezekiel, and that's how God likes to work. He likes to work through us, and us speak forth in faith, in alignment with his will, and out of obedience. And us speaking forth things into being that he wants spoken forth, and he does them.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
oh yeah, very good sense. I have one word comes to my mind when you say that, personal relationship again. We've lost the personal touch with God. Jesus came as our paraclete. He came as our attorney. He came as our spokesman. He came to fulfill something we could never do. We couldn't do it. And so he went to the cross for us. That's personal. And you have to personally, I told my kids just here recently, because John, you and I talked this about a few times. I told my kids recently, when we was up at the lake, I got up, I'm always out early and I like to have a cup of coffee and get up early. Well, my girl's just kind of taking that back after both of her. She likes to do it too, but she don't drink coffee. So I get my coffee and I go out there, and the girls out there at the lake, Susie and Carrie, they're out there watching the water and all this stuff. I know Pop goes up and pulls up a chair. And so they, stop the girl talking and goes, "Here's the old man, let's see what he wants to say." So I start talking to him and I said, "Dad wants to say something to my girls. It's all around us. This time is really short. I don't know how much time we have left, but it's short, girls. You girls be sure you don't have a mom and dad salvation experience. You have to have your own born again experience." I really wanted, because I got a little nervous. I got a little bit concerned. I'm seeing things really winding down. I really am. It's just not, I don't think it's my imagination. You all can see it. Something's happening. You don't even have to be a believer to not know that something is happening. Something is happening out there. And secular people going, "What the blankety blank going on? What is happening out here? What's going on with America? What's going on with the people? Everybody gone nuts? Everybody's mad at everybody? Everybody's suing everybody?" Well, because they can't put a finger on it. Something's happening. Satan is ticked because he knows he has a short time left. Just a short time. And so he's pulling out all stoppers.